Hello everyone and welcome to another exciting episode of Cargo Live, IAG Cargo's live stream webinars. Thank you very much for joining us today for our 10th episode in the series. It'd be great to hear where you're tuning in from the world, so please do let us know in the comments box on your screen. My name is Emma Ramsey. I'm from the marketing team here at IAG Cargo. As always, Cargo Live brings you the latest updates, trends and insights from the ever-evolving logistics industry. And on that note, here is the exciting lineup of guest speakers on today's agenda. First up, we'll be hearing from IAG Cargo's Chief Sales and Marketing Officer, Camilo Garcia Cervera. Then we'll get the latest updates from inside our London Heathrow operations from David Rose, Director of London Operations at IAG Cargo. Then we'll head over to Mumbai to hear from Kinjal Pandey, the CEO of India and Indian subcontinent at DB Schenker, who will be sharing her insights on the changing landscape of logistics in India. Then finally, Rob Stack, the Head of Business Change at IAG Cargo's Madrid hub, will be speaking about our newly refurbished perishables facility at Madrid Airport. Also to note, this is an interactive session with a live Q&A at the end once we've heard from all of our guest speakers. So if you have any burning questions from them, then please pop them into the comments box on the side of your screen, or you can email them to marketingteam@iagcargo.com. Now, without further ado, let's get started and introduce our first guest speaker, IAG Cargo's Chief Sales and Marketing Officer, Camilo Garcia Cervera. Over to you, Camilo.
Thank you, Emma. Thank you very much. Good morning to all of you. Good afternoon, because I see today we've got some guests joining us from India, from the rest of APAC, Europe, even some people from the Americas in the very early hours of the morning. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Thank you for joining us today, and thank you, Kinjal, for your participation from India. Also, thank you for David and Rob for joining us today and sharing with our customer and guests what is it that we're doing from an IAG Cargo perspective, which is certainly for very much of interest of our customers. This 10th episode of Cargo Live is a year after I came back to IAG Cargo, and must say I'm delighted to be back in the industry, which is evolving so fast, and in a business which is transforming itself at a very high speed. Today, as Emma highlighted, you're going to hear from a customer in India, one of the key markets for IAG Cargo, where we're currently operating over 55 flights per week into the UK. We're going to hear from the head of London operations, and then from Rob Stack, our head of business change in our Madrid hub, one of the 4 hubs that IAG offers to its customers. Talking about customers, I cannot not stop in highlighting the activity that I have seen in the past 12 months. When coming back to IAG Cargo, it was very clear to me, to my team, the need to be in front of our customers again. Fortunately, COVID and all of that was in the past, and we're now back in a scenario where talking to our customers, meeting our customers, and in fact, I've been lucky and privileged enough to have been able to be in India for a couple of times now, in China, Air Cargo Europe, very, very recently after I joined, in the States, and more recently at CNS there, and around different countries in Europe and the UK and I. So being in front of our customers is a key aspect for us at IAG Cargo, and I personally look forward to doing so. In fact, next week I'll have the privilege to visit some of our customers in Nairobi, new territory for me, and one that I'm keen to know more about. Cannot carry on without highlighting some of the most recent changes announced from our network perspective. We are delighted to be back in Abu Dhabi, a country that we had not been in for the past 4 years. We have also announced 3 additional rotations into Buenos Aires, 4 additional rotations into Sao Paulo, 7 additional rotations per week into Chicago, and we have doubled our offer from Heathrow into San Diego. And last but not least, sustainability, something that is also very important for us here at IAG Cargo. And last week, IAG Cargo revealed successfully the transition of 160 ground vehicles at its London hub that are moving from diesel to hydro-treated vegetable oil, HVO, as it's better known by. So that's another movement into our direction and our commitment to be net zero by 2050. Not to forget that our Dublin fleet is already powered by electric vehicles. Madrid is also experimenting change in terms of sustainability, and also being very proudly recently opening our extended perishable facility in Madrid for all those flows coming in and out Europe from Latin America. 50% more capacity to handle perishables in Madrid is what we are offering now our customers. So again, very excited about this 10th episode of Cargo Live and looking forward to what's next in this episode. So without further ado, Emma, over to you.
Thank you, Camilo. As I mentioned at the start of the episode, but if you've just joined us, all the guest speakers will be taking questions at the end. So if you have any questions for them, then you can submit them via the comments box on your screen, or you can email them to marketingteam@iagcargo.com, and we'll get onto those at the end. Over to our next guest speaker now. We'll be hearing from the Director of London Operations at IAG Cargo, David Rose. Over to you, David.
Thanks very much, Emma, and good afternoon, good morning to you wherever you are in the world. My name is David Rose, and I'm the Director of London Operations for us here at IAG Cargo. I'll do a quick introduction so that you can get to know me a little bit better. So I've taken on this role in London just under a year ago now. Previously to that, I was the Chief Transformation Officer for us here at IAG Cargo. And prior to that, I worked in British Airways, a number of operational roles and transformation as well. So really exciting to be talking to you today about both the London operation, the things we've had going on, and the things that we're doing to drive improvements for our customers as well. So a bit of context for you before we kind of start on our London operation and take you through IAG Cargo's biggest hub by numbers. As I've mentioned, our hub here in London is by far our biggest on our network. Around 2/3 of our global freight last year passed through London, either beginning or finishing its journey in London, or as the large proportion of our freight tends to do, transship through from one destination to another using the London hub as a transshipment hub as well. What did that equate to in terms of airway bills? We did around 737,000 airway bills were handled by the team here in London in 2023. A really, really high and vast number. And as many of you will be aware, a large proportion of those are now actually e-airway bills after we did a big push as a business to become a leader, particularly in the UK market, for our e-airway bill penetration as part of our journey to becoming much more digital and sustainable. And to do all of this and handle all of that freight, we have over 1,300 colleagues who work for me in London, 1,300 people who are extremely passionate about this business, who absolutely love the cargo industry and genuinely want our operation to be the best it possibly can, and have been fantastic since I've come into the role at suggesting improvements and really coming on this journey that we're taking people on to become a more reliable operation through London Heathrow. Those teams are both operational teams, and we also have large numbers of our teams who work in planning, optimization, performance management, and recovery. So it's not just people who are handling the physical freight. We also have a huge number of individuals who do a lot of work behind the scenes as well. So for those of you just slightly unfamiliar with how London Ops works, I'll just give you a very quick overview so that when I'm talking through the presentation now, kind of makes sense all the different parts of the operations that are changing and what we're talking about. So we kind of have three core parts of our operation here in London. We have two main warehouses, which are our Ascentus warehouse, which is the sort of bread bin-like structure that you see at the top there. That's for our general cargo. We also handle some mail, secure, human remains through there. And then we have our Premier facility, and I'll touch a little bit in the presentation around some of the new capability we have within our new Premier facility. So freight is either accepted or picked up from the customer through Ascentus and Premier, and is then taken through by our large airside team. We have a fleet of over 160 ground vehicles, as Camilo mentioned, have now transitioned to HVO. They take the freight to and from the aircraft over at the terminals here at Heathrow. We primarily handle for British Airways, for Iberia, for Aer Lingus, and a small number of freighters as well are handled through London. Our airside operation is very vast. We have over 1,000 freight movements airside every single day. So it's a very large logistical operation, but one that we are confident we can drive some real change through. So I'll start to talk to you about some of the change that we've made within London operations. And there's kind of three things I want to talk to you about today, both new processes, new tech, but firstly, some new people that we have within London. We've got a new management team in the London Heathrow operation, which I'm really pleased blends a really good level of external perspective from both within the cargo industry and outside the cargo industry, and also people within the management team in London who have progressed their career through cargo over a number of years. It's a really great blend of experience that we've got in London. We've got Josh Lane, who is our head of Premier. Previously, he worked in transformation roles for us and also brings in some experience externally from the automotive industry. We have Neil McGuckin, who has turned perpendicular, I think, for most of you on his left. He is our head of Ascentus and brings with him experience from Amazon and previously some work in previous factory operations as well. Holly Button is our head of airside. Holly's been with us for a number of years and heads up our biggest team, our airside operation, which I touched on before. I've got Matt Goff, who joined us as a graduate at the start of his career and has spent a number of years with IAG Cargo, who runs our planning and optimization teams. And a new team which we've created within London operations, which is continuous improvement, is headed up by David Struthers, who joined us last year. The continuous improvement culture that I'm looking to drive within London is really, really important. The CI team have been absolutely fantastic at getting under the skin of all of our processes within London and making sure we can eliminate process wastage and drive quality for all of our customers. Now, our focus on driving operational quality and minimizing our number of offloads really has tech at the center of it, and tech really is the future to the success of the London operation, in my view. I wanted to touch on 3 pieces of tech investment that we've been making within London today. First of all, we've got our planning tools and looking at new ways in which we can plan our flights and optimize our capacity, and also work much more closely with our airline operating companies as well to make sure that we utilize the space on all of our aircraft in the best possible way, get away as much freight as possible, and make sure we do that as reliably as we possibly can. We've looked at new ways to surface our build plans, both for our planning teams and also our warehouse teams, and looking at how they can interact with one another. We're also looking at how we can build more reliable pallets and change our processes, and that's some of the work that our continuous improvement team are helping with our operations teams as well. Out on our grid lines, so where we actually build and break the freights, we're also making a significant number of investments as well, particularly in tech. We've got 2 pieces of tech that we're going to be trialing within our warehouses with our partners from Sind from Sweden. The first one is a 3D pallet scanning device, which will allow our teams, when they're building pallets, to see whether there are additional opportunities to put extra pieces of freight on and make sure that we're able to get more freight away on every single aircraft. We're also looking at investment in some weight and dim scanning technology, which will be putting at the point of acceptance into our warehouses to make sure that the weights and dims and dimensions, that we have within our planning systems is correct, and make sure that we can optimize the space as best we possibly can. So there are 2 really exciting pieces of tech that we're getting into the warehouse with our partner Sind, and I'm really excited to see the benefits that they're going to be able to bring, both for our operational processes, but also for the customers as well. It's really important that we are driving the most reliable operation that we can. And thirdly, it'd be remiss of me to not talk about New Premier. Our New Premier facility is one which I'm sure many of you will be aware of. It is now fully operational within our London hub. It is a semi-automated warehouse facility that blends together and integrates our warehouse planning systems, our mechanical handling systems, and our airside allocation systems. It's the first warehouse of its kind to do this. It's a really exciting warehouse facility. It's increased our capacity and what we can handle through our premium facility in London. And also for me as well, what's great to see is how our teams have evolved and how they've worked with the new tech. It genuinely is a modern operational warehouse, which our teams are extremely proud to be a part of. Alongside those tech investments that we're also making some planning and warehouse changes that we've already seen bring some improvements to our efficiency and our customer performance. So I talked about the tech that we're putting on our grid lines within the warehouse, but we're also looking at the overall setup of those grid lines as well. That's with the help of our continuous improvement teams to make sure that our teams have the right tools at the right time available to them to make sure we run an extremely reliable operation. We're investing heavily in our teams as well. We're looking to make sure our teams are multifunctional, so they're able to react to changes in customer demand and changes to our operation. We're also investing in our teams as well in new training through our new Leading the Way program, which all of our teams in the operation and across IAG Cargo are going to go through. It's a great exercise for all of our teams and a great training piece that brings together everyone from across the business. We've also been investing in our infrastructure, not only within New Premier, but also in the Ascentis building too, where we handle our general cargo. That building is now around 25 years old, and we're making a significant amount of investment in there to make sure that the performance of that building itself stays as reliable as it should for all of our customers. And with the help of our teams, not only in London, but across the business too, we're working on a full process review end-to-end of how we do things to make sure that we're running in the most optimal way. We're looking at areas for us to identify improvement, looking at our automation opportunities and how we can use tech like RPA, so robot process automation, something which we actually utilize already within London to handle the freight. So there's a lot going on, both within the tech space and within our process and planning and warehouse arena. And I'm pleased to say that already we've seen an improvement in some of our customer metrics. So you can see at the bottom there versus the first quarter in last year. In 2024, our door service times were down by 7%, and our truck queue time in Ascentis, our facility for general cargo, was down 16% versus the first quarter in 2023 as well. So I'm really pleased to see that the changes that we've been making and the teams have been driving have really driven some real tangible improvements for all of our customers who have freight that is traveling through our big London hub. So like I say, our focus really through London and the team that I now have in place is driving operational quality and customer satisfaction. It's something that we have at the absolute forefront of everything that we're doing. And to do that, we've got new people in role, we've got brand new tech that we're trialing and also investing in, and we're looking at new processes as well to make sure that the London Heathrow operation for IAG Cargo is the best that it possibly can be for every single one of our customers. That's it for me today, and it's been really great to join Cargo Live. Right now, though, I'm going to hand back to Emma.
Thank you for taking your questions at the end. So if you have any, then please pop them into the comments box on your screen or email them to marketingteam@iagcargo.com. Our next guest speaker is Kinjal Pandey, the CEO of India and Indian subcontinent at DB Schenker. Over to you.
Thanks, Emma. Hello, everybody. Very happy to be here. Well, IAG has been a super partner for so many years, so it's fantastic to be here with everyone. Not planned, but I just realized that I'm also wearing the IAG Cargo brand colors, which also is the Schenker color, so that's saying something. Well, I'm here to talk about India. India's been in the news lately. We thought it would be a good idea to spend a couple of minutes just giving a macro view of the real action on ground. There's so much happening around the logistics landscape, manufacturing, uptake, and so on and so forth. And I want to kind of just take the real ground experience and bring this to you through this format. As we move through the slide, and I will just click real fast. Well, India a decade ago was the 10th largest economy. And as we speak, it has literally doubled. And the vision for the country is to become a 5 trillion economy by 2030. And of course, there's a lot which is driving this. We know the burgeoning aspirational middle-class population, increasing the domestic consumption, e-commerce, and so on. And I want to specifically focus on manufacturing because that is also now, as logistics, we're directly experiencing the fast pace of manufacturing across the country. In 2014, the government launched Make in India. And the idea was that manufacturing should grow at 12 to 14%, which is literally double of the country's average GDP growth. Basically, essentially, manufacturing should contribute 25% to the total economy of the country. And we are seeing that pace up on ground. There's a lot that the government has done through tax exemptions, duty drawbacks, easing out the regulatory approval, bureaucratic sort of a format. And we are seeing the manufacturing pace up happening primarily very quickly in automotive, industry, and electronic sector. And because of the manufacturing pace up that the country has seen over the last decade, even more so over the last few years, the rise of the MSME or the micro, small, mid-sized enterprises has been fantastic. MSME basically contributes 1/3 of the total GDP of the country. And over the last few years, the contribution to manufacturing has been stunning. A lot of things that the government is doing, which I spoke about manufacturing, but all in all, there's a large ecosystem that is at play now to support the MSME, not just in terms of pacing up, but also getting them to the level of quality that the large players play at, including compliance to the Due Diligence Act. And another trend that we see around manufacturing and the growth of MSME is that this large growth is primarily also happening within the hinterland of the country a lot faster. So in tier 2, tier 3 cities where largely the economy was driven by agriculture and services is now being driven by manufacturing. And that's a given because the future of skill sets, of labor, of cost is actually essentially in the hinterland as expected. And therewith, of course, lies the challenge, because in India, the challenge thus far has been the connectivity of the hinterland to the ports and the airports. And that's where the impact to logistics has been felt. Now, coming to logistics and what it means for us. So logistics has been, it contributes 15% to the GDP of the country. That's very high. Typically in developed economies where logistics is extremely efficient, it is a single-digit number of 7 to 8%. So obviously, India, the cost of labor is relatively cheap. It's assumably the IT capital of the world. If you cut the supply chain into pieces and you see each and every element separately, the cost is relatively cheaper than the other sourcing markets. But when you join the dots to give a seamless experience to the customers, that's where the cost of inefficiency and connectivity sort of kicks in, making logistics quite expensive. And that's what the government has been trying to do. They have launched the NLP, or the National Logistics Policy, which we as a logistics professional, having worked in this geography over a very long time, are quite confident and excited about, because it's the first time since its launch in 2022 that we see an effective policy with real action on ground that joins the dots of the road, the rail, the ships, the aviation, skill sets, digitalization seamlessly into ensuring that we cut cost, we bring more efficiency, we bring better connectivity, and so on. So with NLP, we are also seeing, over the last few years, we have seen a pace up in ports infrastructure, for example, where the turnaround of the ships is now down by 18 hours, which is huge. The number of airports has doubled. Airport cargoes, the air cargo ports have the plan has 40 in number, which is pretty much on target. All of these airport cargoes or air cargo ports also having cold chain facilities now to enable the food supply chains, and healthcare, which is also another growing vertical within the country, is huge. We are seeing a lot of dynamics move towards hinterland with regards to investment in multimodal logistics parks. There's a plan of 35 cutting through the hinterland, ensuring that there's an entire ecosystem of rail and road connectivity to the ports and the airports. The domestic movement that happens through the country by road, but rail has primarily been inefficient. 85% of the cargo still moves on road, which is also not sustainable. And we see that now, as part of the NLP, there's a very large investment in dedicated freight corridors that, through increase in speed and only dedicated to cargo, is supposed to bring in additional turnaround time or better turnaround time for the cargo, and so on. So the list is endless, but this is the first time in a very short span of time that we're seeing real action on ground, which hopefully will bring the country to its vision of getting to a 7 to 8% of the logistics cost to the GDP. Digitalization, there's a lot going on. I remember back in the day, customs clearance at the port used to take 4 to 5 days. It was an extremely manual, high on documentation kind of work. And now at a click of a button, you can upload the documents and get your cargo cleared in a few hours. And that for a country is huge, because you have to be globally competitive when you compare yourself to other countries. Skill sets, 22 billion people involved in logistics and plus. And the idea within the NLP to now focus on skill sets is to not just upskill the people, but also create more jobs as manufacturing, domestic logistics, consumption, e-commerce grows significantly. So a lot is going on, but after a long time, we are supremely confident with the way the pace up is going, that there's real action on ground, and very excited to see where the country lands over the next few years with regards to its global competitiveness. So what does it mean for logistics service providers like us? We have to move ahead, look forward, and invest ahead. So as you can see from the map, a lot of the investment actually is happening within the tier 2, tier 3 and hinterlands, so that there is connectivity. We have doubled our warehouse footprint, which would mean that we also continue on the same track to double down our footprint through the course of the country to ensure that it supports manufacturing, but also e-commerce and domestic consumption. Line hauls, it's very important that, warehousing and storage, domestic logistics is also aided with a well articulated or well structured line haul plan or a land transportation plan. So investing in daily line hauls, connecting critical points through the country every day, day on day basis is something that we do and something that we continue to focus on. I spoke about the MSME. It's very important that they get the support and they get access to world-class procurement and operations to support their growth. So having a dedicated team only looking at the SME growth is super important. And that's why a lot of investment in tier 2, tier 3 cities where these manufacturers are primarily based is something that we always look at. And of course, at the end, just an international network and strong partners like IAG, ocean network, air freight network to ensure that while domestic logistics is booming, for our international exporters and importers, they get the support that they need to aid the vision of the country to become a 5 trillion economy. All the verticals that I've mentioned is something which is growing at a supreme pace, each of them with their own nuances and their own solutioning that is needed. And to be able to be extremely customer-centric and build an ecosystem around the supply chain to support the growth is something that me and many of our peers in the country are looking at. So I hope with that, you've got a little bit of spiel on a little bit of taste of India and what's happening locally on ground. Happy to stop here and take questions later. With that, back to you, Emma.
Thank you, Kinjal. Our final guest speaker on today's episode is IAG Cargo's Head of Business Change at our Madrid hub, Rob Stack. Over to you, Rob.
Thanks, Emma. Good morning, everyone. So Madrid is IAG Cargo's second largest hub on the network. So we tend to transport freight on Iberia's long-haul network, on our air bridge, which links Madrid to London, and also via truck, both on the Iberian Peninsula and also into the rest of mainland Europe. We've really invested a significant amount of money in the hub in the past 6 years, and this has totaled 12 million euros. One thing we did do in 2019 was open our Constant Climate installations. So Constant Climate is IAG Cargo's pharmaceutical product. We invested 1.5 million euros in an area of over 900 square meters for freight that needs to be kept at 2 to 8 degrees C or 15 to 25 degrees C. This is GDP certified, like the world-class facilities we also have in London. We have a fleet, as you can see in the right-hand image, of 8 dedicated Constant Climate trucks, which transport our pharmaceutical product to and from the warehouse to the aircraft. We are really proud that we transported over 10 million COVID vaccines through these facilities during the pandemic. So what's new? Well, we're really excited to announce, as Camilo mentioned before, that we've opened our expansion for our perishables centre in Madrid. So we invested another 1.5 million here, and it's 45% bigger, and we now have 1,300 square meters of cool room storage. This is cooled by state-of-the-art equipment, which is far more sustainable and more efficient than the equipment we had before. It's also monitored 24 hours a day to ensure there's no temperature diversions. What moves through these facilities? Well, it's freight that comes into the EU from outside the EU. So customers can collect the freight directly from the terminal. It can connect on truck by truck to the rest of the Iberian Peninsula and onto the rest of Europe, or obviously it can connect via aircraft. You can see there's 2 images on this picture. The top image shows the meat and fish chamber that we've opened, and the bottom image, the fruit and veg chamber. The whole project from concept to opening was less than 12 months. So The actual build itself was only 4 months, and we had to plan this really meticulously to ensure that there was no disruption to the operation because of these facilities being so important for flows both into Spain and into Europe. We had to go get the approval from the local airport authority, the Madrid Council, the Spanish health authorities, and the EU, which shows the quality we had to ensure we met during the process. The freight, the fruit and veg, the meat and fish that goes through these chambers is taken to from the aircraft in our specialist fleet of perishables trucks. And this is one of several investments happening at the moment at Madrid Airport. Madrid is becoming a key European hub. We've seen in the last 2 years double-digit growth year on year, with 2023 being seeing over 10% of volumes more than passed through Madrid in 2019. If you're ever in Madrid, you're more than welcome to come and see the facilities. We'd be honoured to have you visit. So the final point, so I just wanted to flag those products that we tend to transport through the terminal. So fruit and veg wise, we have asparagus from Peru, Los Angeles, papaya coming from Brazil. Our flights from the Dominican Republic bring mangoes. Typically from Mexico, we import avocados and okra, and we also import okra from El Salvador. We bring beef from Argentina and Uruguay, and hake and salmon from Chile. We're able to also connect onto Doha on our route to the Middle East, and also at the end of the year, we will open a route onto Tokyo. Obviously, we can connect all our flights via our London hub onto the extensive network that BA operates. We're now going to have a quick look at a video tour around the installations by Fernando Terol, who's our director of the Spanish hub and operations here in Madrid. And then we'll hand back to Emma. Thank you.
This facility is owned by IAG Cargo, and we have done a large investment recently to improve the capacity of the building. The current capacity is 1,340 square meters and has increased by 45%. We have used the latest technology available in the market for refrigeration of the cool chamber. There are a significant range of different products that we handle here in the facility. We have 2 separate chambers, one for fish and meat and the other one for fruit and vegetables. We have incorporated all the requirements of the EU sanitary authorities into these facilities in order to upgrade the facilities to the maximum level. This means that we are offering the best proposition for our customers in Latin America to export their products into the European Union. This for sure will benefit our global customers because this is a significant point of entry in the EU of perishable goods. Madrid is the door between Latin America and Europe. So this is an important point of transit connecting Europe with Latin America.
Thank you very much for showing us that video at the end there, Rob. So now we've come to the end of hearing from all of our guest speakers, and we have a few more minutes to take some of the questions that have been coming in. So the first question is for Kinjal, and they're asking, can you tell us about the move towards sustainability at DB Schenker?
Oh, sure. Thanks for the question. Well, sustainability is a huge topic, just like any other organization today. At DB Schenker, we aim to be carbon neutral by 2040. There's a lot happening globally and locally on that. So everything around sustainable fuel, running with zero carbon air freight charters, for example. On the ocean freight, we buy biofuels so that the customers have an option to buy biofuels and hence carbon neutral movements through us. Investing ahead across the globe in EV vehicles and electrification of trucks is something that we are very passionate about. These are just some big ones that happen at a global level. Locally in India and Bangladesh, we're doing a lot with regards to the local requirement as well on top of what is available global. So I mentioned about rail, for example, as a sustainable option. We are working very closely with the rail provider, working with an understanding that we have to convert customers and give them a viable rail option compared to truck, to kind of save and have a better carbon footprint within the country. And that's something that we are very, very concerned and serious about. And in addition, if I have to pick one more, then healthcare comes to my mind, where we are looking constantly at better technology for lesser carbon footprint in terms of movement of cold chain trucks across the country for our healthcare division. So I hope that answers it. The list is endless, but we're quite passionate about it. Thank you. Thanks, Emma.
Great, thank you, Kinjal. That's a great answer. And we have another question now that's come in for Rob, and they're asking, Madrid serves as a significant transit hub for freight entering Europe, yet it faces high temperatures. How does IAG Cargo ensure temperature control during the transit from the aircraft to the facility?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as a Brit based in Madrid, I find I often have problems with temperature control. But we have a fleet of 12 dedicated perishables trucks that go alongside our 8 constant climate trucks. So we're able to bring all of the freight that I mentioned before to and from the aircraft in those trucks.
Amazing, thank you. And we've got one more question, and that's for Camilo. And they've asked, what are IAG Cargo's next moves in the digitalization arena?
Great. Thank you, Emma. And let me once again thank everyone who has been part of this Cargo Live episode. It has been very, very insightful, and I hope that has been the case also for the audience. Specifically, in terms of digitization, I'm very on a weekly basis, around 60% of our bookings being made online, right? Most of them being done through IAG Cargo, but as you know, we partner with third-party platforms, and we also interact with direct connectivity with some of our global customers through host-to-host or API integrations. 90% of our allocations are now being booked online, and we need to push and work together with our customers to get to 100% of our allocations being booked online. When we look at the geographies, I would say Europe, India, UK, and I are leading the way in terms of how advanced we are in ensuring that we have the highest degree of online bookings. We've got room for growth in the Americas, some of the Asian markets, Africa and Latin America, where opportunities are there for us to grab. But what is really exciting is what's coming next. We've been working very hardly with our systems providers, and during summer, which is something that we're already trialing, we are going to be launching our spot rates online. So our customers will be finding the best rate available will be the one online. And that's a clear message for our customers, an invitation for our customers to book everything through IAG Cargo or any of the other digital channels that we have made available. So watch this space for spot to be available on IAGcargo.com. That's just around the corner, and it's definitely a game changer in our digitization efforts.
Great, thank you very much for that, Camilo. Sadly, that's all we have time for in today's episode, but thank you so much to everyone who sent in their questions and for joining in and tuning in for us. And of course, thank you to our guest speakers for taking part and sharing their insights. You can stay up to date with the latest IAG Cargo news by heading over to our website to sign up to receive emails from us and by following us on our social media channels. Thank you and enjoy the rest of your week.